Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 372 based on novel. So let's start. Fire of the world, listen to my command, burn. Wang Lin's voice revealed a cold intent. The moment he spoke, the fire around the centipede went through a startling change. Wang Lin's vermilion bird had gone through its third awakening and had fused with the law of fire, becoming part of the law. Before Wang Lin, unless their fire was outside the law, as long as Wang Lin wanted to, he could extinguish it. The moment Wang Lin's words fell, the sea of fire around the red centipede suddenly trembled before it charged at the centipede. At the same time, popping sounds echoed inside the centipede's body. An even more powerful fire suddenly erupted from within its body. The moment the centipede's eyes became filled with fear, the fire inside its body erupted forth. A burst of mournful cries echoed, but soon it all stopped. A fireball about 1,000 feet large appeared and lit up the surrounding fog. It gradually extinguished, and the centipede inside was burnt to ashes. All of this happened in an instant, and Wang Lin had merely raised his finger. He didn't look at the result. After pointing, he turned around and followed the war spirit print. The moment the fire centipede died, roars of grief echoed in the distance. It was the several other 1,000 feet centipede coming even faster. The hatred in the 10,000 feet blue centipede became even stronger. It let out a roar and moved even faster. If my injuries had healed, it wouldn't be hard to kill this rank 12 beast. Even now, because it is a fire beast, it shouldn't be easy to kill. Wang Lin frowned, and shortly after, there was a flash of killing intent on his face. Courting death. A red light came from the fog to Wang Lin's right, and a sea of fire shot out. This sea of fire was more than 10,000 feet wide, and it seemed like it was going to burn the fog. It shot straight toward Wang Lin, and there was another fierce 1,000-foot centipede charging at Wang Lin. It was very fast and closed in an instant. The sea of fire gave off an intense heat, and it was less than 1,000 feet from Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a cold snort and waved his hand, causing a shocking change. The sea of fire suddenly stopped and was pushed back. It crashed toward the centipede like an angry wave. At the same time, the fire around the centipede went crazy and pounced on the centipede. Another huge fireball suddenly appeared. The centipede couldn't even let out a miserable hiss before it was burned by the fire. Also, the fire that burnt it was no longer red, but revealed a hint of blue. The moment this fireball appeared, 2 more centipedes charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He originally didn't want to bother with these beasts, but they seemed unwilling to give up, unless they died. There was a flash of coldness in his gaze as Wang Lin decided to kill. The star formed by law appeared between his eyebrows and blue fire appeared around him before being shot into the fog to the left. A moment later, a shocking sound came from the fog as a monstrous, blue flame echoed. The moment the miserable hiss appeared, it immediately disappeared, and the endless heat spread across the fog. Shortly after, blue fire appeared in another direction. A huge fireball appeared before exploding into countless specks of blue flames. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin walked out from the fog with a cold expression and chased after the war spirit print. Along the way, no more fierce beasts blocked his path. It was obvious that the battle just now had caused the beasts to become extremely afraid. However, the 10 of thousands of feet blue centipede closing in was still angry, but it was simply too far away. Even now, moving at top speed, it would still require a lot of time for it to catch up. As it roared, the blue centipede became crazy and dense, blue fire appeared around it. Then its body suddenly shrank and popping sounds echoed inside its body. In an instant, a flash of blue light spread across its 10 of thousands of feet long body. It was as if an invisible force had opened a crack from the beginning to the end of its body. The moment this cracked blue light came out from it, a smaller centipede, about 8,000 feet long, flew out. Its speed increased several-fold as it charged ahead covered in blue fire. Shortly after, cracks appeared on the 8,000 feet centipede and a smaller, 6,000 feet centipede flew out. Its speed increased once more. Using this strange method, the centipede continued to shed its skin and shrink, but its speed increased like crazy. Wang Lin quickly moved through the Chaos Beast fog realm with the war spirit preying opening a path, gradually closing in on the rank 8 region. Along the way, he met many fierce beasts that tried to block him, but his slaughter and the war spirit print broke through. He moved extremely quickly through the fog. The longer he was inside the fog, the more Wang Lin felt like this place was strange. The longer he was here, the more fierce beasts would gather, making it extremely difficult to leave unless he fully recovered. Wang Lin used almost 4 days of time to reach the edge of the Chaos Beast fog realm. Once he made it out, he would reach the rank 8 region. However, at this moment, Wang Lin turned around and his right hand pointed at the war spirit print. The war spirit print suddenly moved and appeared before Wang Lin. At the same time, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to form a seal and point at the war spirit print. The seal Wang Lin had placed on it to stop absorbing origin energy collapsed and it began absorbing origin energy like crazy. Just at this moment, there was a flash of blue coming from the fog before Wang Lin. An unimaginable heat filled the surrounding hundreds of thousands of feet. An angry roar came out from the fog. As the fog was pushed aside, a ferocious, 3,000-foot-long centipede charged out, and it was surrounded by a monstrous, blue fire. The moment the centipede appeared, the aura of a rank 12 beast surrounded the area. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and he waved his right hand. The war spirit print charged out and shot toward the centipede while it continued to absorb origin energy. It was very fast, causing the surrounding fog to be pushed to the sides as it rumbled. It immediately smashed into the incoming centipede. The centipede let out a heaven-shaking hiss and stared ferociously at the huge palm. It rushed toward the palm print while being surrounded by a sea of fire, but when it got close, its body twisted and the blue fire collided with the palm print. As the thunderous rumble echoed, its body dodged to the side and charged at Wang Lin. Its ferocious expression and sharp pincer made it look like it wanted to eat Wang Lin alive. This scene combined with the giant palm print behind it presented an unexpected sense of beauty. Wang Lin's expression was cold as the star of law flashed before his eyebrows. It rotated rapidly as a blue fire spread out from his body. Compared to the light blue of the centipede, this blue was shocking. The centipede's body paused for an indescribable moment and its eyes became serious. However, it didn't retreat, but charged out like crazy. The fire about its body became even more majestic and blue light shined brightly. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed with his finger. When facing anyone using fire, there was no need for fancy spells to decide the outcome. With the point of his finger, the deep, blue fire around him condensed and shot out. As it shot forward, the blue light flashed and turned into a large, blue vermilion bird. The vermilion bird let out a cry and charged at the centipede. The centipede immediately let out a roar, and its upper body rose up like a snake and stared at the vermilion bird. The blue fire around it condensed like crazy to form a monstrous force outside its body. Then it collided with the vermilion bird that was rapidly closing in. A thunderous rumble echoed across the Chaos Beast fog realm, and the beast sense of several rank 12 beasts shot straight to this place. However, at this moment, a very powerful aura that even shocked Wang Lin came from the depths of the Chaos Beast fog realm and suppressed the other rank 12 beasts. The rumble was heaven-shaking when the two fires collided. The vermilion bird let out an unwilling cry as it rushed back into Wang Lin's body. The moment it returned, Wang Lin flew far away. The sea of fire before the centipede immediately collapsed and its body exploded as its fire was pushed back. Half its body was a bloody mess, but it didn't die. It let out a miserable hiss and quickly retreated back into the disappearing fog. In the fog, the old man from the Everlast sect had watched all of this, and he was shocked. Who is this person? He unexpectedly controls fire even stronger than the fire centipede and has a very high cultivation level. If not for his injuries, even I would not be confident in a fight against him. But he is not from the God sect. I have seen the war spirit print before, and while his is very similar, it's not the war spirit print. There were 3 disciples following the old man. They were all shocked and terrified of what they saw. They originally thought they were powerful, but what they saw had shaken their minds. In particular, the beautiful female cultivator's eyes lit up as she watched Wang Lin leave. No one knew what she was thinking. At this moment, the aura that suppressed all the rank 12 beasts' auras swept across the fog filled with anger. The old man's head jerked up as if he remembered something, and his expression changed. He waved his sleeves and took his 3 disciples toward the third path. I can no longer allow the 3 of them to train here. After charging out from the Chaos Beast Fog Realm, Wang Lin entered the rank 8 region. Wang Lin revealed a look of joy after he charged out, and he looked back at the fog. Just now, he had felt the aura of a rank 13 beast. It was this aura that made him give up on killing the centipede. After all, the most important thing right now was to reach the Wind Celestial Realm. There is indeed a reason for this Chaos Beast Fog Realm to be so famous. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin flew off into the distance. After entering the rank 8 region, Wang Lin no longer acted so arrogantly. He knew that there were many old monsters in the rank 8 region. The elder that was observing his battle in the fog was obviously one of them. Although he hadn't fully healed, with his power, along with various spells and treasures, he could be arrogant in the rank 6 and 7 regions. However, in the rank 8 region, he would need to be more cautious. Therefore, Wang Lin withdrew his aura and slowed down. At the same time, he studied the route to the Wind Celestial Realm. He didn't charge in a straight line, but avoided certain areas as he rushed toward the Wind Celestial Realm. Compared to the size of the rank 8 region, Wang Lin was like a fish in the ocean. He gradually headed toward the Wind Celestial Realm while he purposely kept himself hidden. Wang Lin flew for several days straight. It had been almost 1 month since he had begun his trip in the rank 5 region. The Wind Celestial Realm was seriously damaged back then, but because it was occupied by the mosquito beasts, the ruins were left mostly intact. There were still some cultivators that would enter. Every now and then, groups of cultivators would enter in an attempt to capture some lone mosquito beasts along the outer edge. There was no need for a wind furnace to enter the Wind Celestial Realm. There was a huge spatial rift, and as long as one had the courage to charge through the dense mosquito beast herd, they could enter. However, very few people could actually do this. Only when there were a lot of people with a powerful cultivator leading the way could they break through, or if there were several powerful old monsters working together. However, most people only moved in the outer region. After all, some fierce beasts would occasionally appear outside the crack. These beasts contain trace amounts of rare celestial spiritual energy, and after a long time, precious crystals filled with celestial spiritual energy would form. Although it wasn't much, it was better than nothing. At this moment, there were more than 10 cultivators outside the crack to the Rain Celestial Realm. They seemed to be waiting for more people to enter. Wang Lin gradually came out from the fog. His white hair was very conspicuous. The moment he appeared, the gazes of all the cultivators gathered. At this moment, on the continent of Mo Lu in the rank 5 region, Lu Yinf stood on the mountain where she first spoke to Wang Lin. The wind caused her hair to flow, and she looked like a celestial. There was a hint of melancholy on that beautiful face. The competition of the main sect was nearing. Everyone participating in the competition was prepared and waiting for the main sect to open the transfer array to the main sect. The transfer arrays built in each branch sect could only be opened by the main sect. They had no right to activate it. Lu Yinfei had stood here for 1 hour already. She always looked at the sky, expecting to see the figure again. She had waited 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, but even now, that figure still had not appeared. After a long time, the earth trembled and a bright light came from the origin sect. Large amounts of origin energy began to gather in the origin sect, but none of this caught Lu Yinfei's attention. She bit her lower lip and stared at the sky. There was sadness in her eyes. Why? You promised, you said you would come. Behind Lu Yinfei, Shiyun arrived like a breeze. She looked at her teacher and pondered silently for a moment before she finally said, "Teacher, the main sect has already opened the transfer array. Uncle teacher asked me to bring you over. We're leaving." She let out a sigh, then Lu Yinfei withdrew her gaze from the sky and the look of melancholy disappeared from her face, replaced with a determined gaze. She looked at Xu Yun and softly said, "After this trip, you and I will no longer be teacher and disciple. You have very good talent and will likely become a core disciple in whichever branch sect you're sent to. Teacher. Tears flowed down from Xu Yun's eyes, and she was about to speak. No need to say more, I have decided. Lu Yanfei looked profoundly at Xu Yun and walked down from the mountain. As Lu Yanfei's 3 senior brothers stood outside the transfer array, a pressure built up. They looked at their surroundings to get a good last look. When Lu Yanfei arrived, everyone stepped into the formation. The moment the formation activated and they were teleported to the Everlast sect in the rank 8 region, a crystal teardrop fell from Lu Yanfei's eyes. When you come back, perhaps you will find that the origin sect is already gone. At the same time, in the rank 9 region, after the last fierce beast was killed outside the crack, the beast tide seemed to have died down. This allowed the Cloud Sea cultivators to have a moment of rest. Among these cultivators, the blue-haired Li Chenmai was the focal point of everyone. She wiped the beast blood from her sword, but she was still calm. Looking at the distance, Li Chenmai silently left the battlefield and walked toward the branch the demon sect had set up here. I'm going to leave for 3 months. In the demon sect, Li Chenmai looked at the vague figure in the hall. Although her voice was soft, it was filled with determination. The hall was completely silent as a blurry figure slowly raised his head. 2 rays of light appeared from the figure and landed on Li Chenmai's body. Li Chenmai's expression was calm, there wasn't any change. Not many people could remain calm before such a breathtaking gaze. Even the owner of the gaze couldn't help but reveal some admiration. No. I'm just informing you. Li Chenmai turned around and walked away. A bigger beast tide is imminent, and if you leave now, you will be a disgrace to your heaven-breaking sect. The blurry figure seemed to frown as his unstable voice echoed. Li Chenmai didn't speak and walked out from the hall. If you dare to walk half a step, you will be guilty of defecting. The voice was still unstable, but the world seemed to turn cold. Li Chenmai stopped and pondered for a moment. She didn't turn around and softly said, I want to leave for 3 months. After she finished speaking, she raised her foot and walked forward without any hesitation. The hall was silent. Why must you be so resolute? Is there something more important than facing the beast tide and making sure the Cloud Sea remains untainted? There was a hint of anger in the voice. There is one thing that's more important to me than what you said. Li Chenmai gradually walked away. It wasn't until Li Chenmai was gone for a long time that a sigh echoed in the hall. There was no longer any anger or coldness in the voice. Since you're so resolute, then take my jade and leave via the teleport formation. That way, you can save some time. With the voice, a gentle light shot out of the demon sect and landed in Li Chenmai's hand. Li Chenmai took the jade and looked into the distance. She softly said, after disappearing for 100 years, he should appear to help the origin sect in the competition. Will he go? In the Cloud Sea, there was a wild continent floating in the fog that was extremely cold. It was as if all life would be frozen here. In the east side of the wild continent, there was a cave in a mountain. Bingmai was sitting there. Her eyes would sometimes open and look outside at the strange land. There was loneliness and homesickness in her eyes. Her injuries were very serious. If she wanted to recover, it couldn't be done in a short period of time, so she was waiting. After she arrived, she threw out an ancient jade of the brilliant void realm. It was something only the saintess of each generation could possess. While cultivating, Bingmai would often recall her own life. Her life was very dull, and almost all of it was spent in the brilliant void realm. The happiest moment was when she recalled the experiences. It was as if she was looking at another life. Liu Mai was the most special existence among her avatars, and it was all because of one person. At times, Bingmai wasn't sure if she was Liu Mai or Bingmai. She was like outsider watching Liu Mai, and she gradually became lost, as if someone from the outside had walked in. Thinking about it, tears flowed down from the corners of the eyes of her origin soul. However, these tears weren't real, they were just her heart being torn apart. After an unknown amount of time, a gentle voice came from outside the cave and entered her mind. She was awakened her from thoughts, but she wasn't surprised, as if she had been expecting it. Is the person inside the brilliant void saintess, elder sister Mu Bingmai? Mu Bingmai softly said, "Please enter." A woman wearing a yellow dress walked in from outside the cave. She looked very delicate, and although she wasn't as beautiful as Mu Bingmai, she wouldn't look any worse if they stood together. The woman looked at Mu Bingmai and apologized. After receiving the jade, teacher was going to come personally, but something occurred, so junior sister here came to pick up big sister. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Wang Shanshan. Named Wang, there was a hint of loneliness in Mu Bingmai's eyes as she nodded and softly said, "I'll be troubling little sister Shanshan." This woman named Wang Shanhan was very feminine. After taking out some pills, she smiled. Big sister Mu is really beautiful. Little sister has never seen a woman so beautiful before. There was a hint of bitterness in Mu Bingmai's smile, and she didn't speak. Big sister Mu, the big competition of the rank 8 sects of my Cloud Sea Star system will be taking place soon. Since it is on the way to the God sect, we should go there together. Little sister rarely gets to come out, and I don't want to go back so soon. Mu Bingmai looked at the woman before her and nodded. The competition of the rank 8 sects involved all the rank 8 sects, but not all disciples were interested in coming. Some held disdain toward all of this and didn't participate, and they moved about as they wished. The cultivators outside the Wind Celestial Realm were like this. They were all the juniors of the various sects, but their cultivation levels weren't low. They had gathered together to try to explore the Wind Celestial Realm. Li Yuan Lei was one of them. Among these people, he was the leader of this group, as he was at the late stage of Nirvana Cleanser. He had a slender body under his green robe and gave off a majestic aura. His handsome eyes were bright as he stared coldly ahead. They were waiting for other cultivators to gather. Calculating the time, those people would be arriving soon. Just at this moment, the fog ahead churned and Wang Lin slowly walked out wearing white with a head of flowing, white hair. The moment he appeared, the more than 10 cultivators looked over. When Li Yuan Lei saw Wang Lin, his expression changed slightly as his gaze followed Wang Lin's figure. The other cultivators beside Li Yuan Lei looked at Wang Lin once and withdrew their gazes. They no longer paid Wang Lin any attention, but Li Yuan Lei frowned. He felt like this white-haired youth gave off a strange feeling. Looking at the spatial crack to the Wind Celestial Realm, Wang Lin's eyes lit up an indiscernible amount. He had spent more than a month to come here just for the Wind Celestial Realm. At this moment, he didn't look at the cultivators outside the Wind Celestial Realm. He charged directly at the spatial crack leading to the Wind Celestial Realm. This spatial crack was like a giant crack that wanted to devour everything. There was also a faint hint of celestial spiritual energy coming from inside. Although it was very weak, Wang Lin clearly felt it. Passing over the cultivators, Wang Lin stood outside the crack and spread out his divine sense. He immediately found that it was as if his divine sense had fallen in a bottomless hole and entered another space. It quickly dissipated. However, the moment it dissipated, Wang Lin got a brief look of the scene inside the Wind Celestial Realm. It was a world covered in a yellow glow. It was as if the entire world was shrouded in howling wind. Whether it was on the ground or in the sky, there was wind blowing everywhere. The divine sense he had spread out was devoured by the crack and even the remnant was destroyed by the storm. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he subconsciously took a few steps back. Just at this moment, laughter came from behind. It was one of the cultivators who looked mockingly at Wang Lin and casually said to one of his companions, "Where did this wild cultivator come from? How can he do something like trying to observe the Wind Celestial Realm with his divine sense? I guess he's just someone reckless that didn't know about the consequences." The cultivators around him all looked at Wang Lin outside the spatial crack with a hint of disdain. It wasn't that they found Wang Lin displeasing, but what Wang Lin had done was simply too reckless for those who had lived in the rank 8 region. Everyone came here with companions and only carefully spread out their divine sense after entering the crack. Otherwise, their divine sense would be destroyed by the wind in the celestial realm. Probing with your divine sense was simply pointless. Only the old monsters in their various sects would do something like this, and this was only because they had the strength to go into the Wind Celestial Realm by themselves. Li Yuanlei also smiled as he stepped forward toward Wang Lin and clasped his hands. I fear this is the first time fellow cultivator has come to the Wind Celestial Realm's entrance. Spreading out your divine sense here is very dangerous. If fellow cultivator wants to see the Wind Celestial Realm, you can come with us. Once several more people arrive, we can enter together and be able to safely enter and withdraw. Wang Lin was still looking at the crack as if he was pondering. After Li Yuanlei spoke, Wang Lin didn't turn around and only calmly said one line. No need. With that, he raised his feet and walked toward the crack of the Wind Celestial Realm. He wasn't fast, but a strange force surrounded him, and at this moment, he attracted everyone's gazes. It seems he wants to enter the Wind Celestial Realm by himself. Big Brother Li had good intentions, but this person is just arrogant. Not even those old monsters would casually enter the Wind Celestial Realm. Li Yuanlei's eyes narrowed and stared at Wang Lin. He saw Wang Lin's figure speed up and charge toward the crack of the Wind Celestial Realm. Wang Lin closed in and was about to step inside. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's pupils shrank and he suddenly stopped. He immediately retreated hundreds of feet. The surrounding cultivators hadn't even reacted to the sudden movement when a monstrous roar came from the crack along with some intense buzzing sounds. A red mist erupted from the crack to the celestial realm and began to spread. There were roars and buzzing sounds coming from inside as mosquitoes 1,000 feet large appeared with ferocious expressions. These mosquito beasts were covered in barbed hair, and their large mouths gave off a fishy smell. It was a shocking sight, and a fierce aura from ancient times spread out. After the roar echoed, about 100 mosquito beasts flew out in the blink of an eye. Just at this moment, Li Yuanlei's expression changed greatly and he retreated without hesitation, shouting, "A small group of giant mosquito beasts is being thrown out. Quickly, retreat!" As he spoke, the expressions of the cultivators beside Li Yuanlei changed greatly and they began to retreat. With their cultivation levels, they stood no chance against these 100 or so mosquito beasts. They quickly scattered. Heaven fragrance! Li Yuanlei's voice echoed again. At the same time, his right hand moved and an incense stick as thick as an arm appeared. The incense began to burn and an extraordinary fragrance quickly spread. It wasn't just him, but all the cultivators took out incense sticks and lit them. In the blink of an eye, the fragrance filled the area around the spatial crack. The mosquito beasts seemed to hate this fragrance a lot and stopped their original charge. They stared at the cultivators and began to roar and reveal fierce gazes. Staring at the 100 or so fierce mosquito beasts, everyone, including Li Yuanlei, recalled all the stories of how fierce the mosquito beasts were. After finding that the mosquito beasts had stopped outside the range of the fragrance, they all relaxed. Just at this moment, a young cultivator beside Li Yuanlei stared ahead. Disbelief filled his eyes and he exclaimed, "This? How is this possible?" He lost control of his voice. The moment his voice echoed, everyone followed his gaze. The surrounding people were all stunned and shock and terror filled their eyes, but they were even more confused. At the center of their gazes was a white figure moving among the mosquito beasts. Below him was a pale gold mosquito beast. As he moved forward, the red mosquito beasts, which were originally extremely fierce, became a lot more tame. They didn't dare to block the youth in white at all and even made a path. There was even a hint of worship in their eyes. The hiss of these mosquito beasts echoed and they stopped paying any attention to the cultivators. Instead, they surrounded the cultivator in white, or more accurately, the pale gold mosquito beast. They formed a ring around it and flew toward the red fog coming out from the crack to the Wind Celestial Realm. This strange scene filled the surrounding cultivators with disbelief. It was as if those mosquito beasts hadn't been spat out by the red fog, but had come out on their own to welcome someone. They were welcoming that person in white. It wasn't until the person in white entered the fog and entered the crack that all the fierce red mosquito beasts all charged back into the red fog. The red fog rolled as if there was something wrong with time, and everything began to reverse. With the mosquitoes back inside the fog contracted and was sucked back into the crack. From when the red fog spat out the mosquito beasts to when they returned to the fog and disappeared, less than 15 minutes had passed. All the cultivators felt their scalps tingle, and even after everything returned to normal, they were still in shock. Who is he? Was his appearance a coincidence, or did the giant mosquito beasts come to greet him? Everyone looked at each other and saw the terror in each other's eyes. They couldn't forget what they had just witnessed. For the cultivators of the Cloud Sea, the might of the mosquito beasts that occupied the Wind Celestial realm wouldn't be questioned. Not even the God sect was confident in recovering the Wind Celestial realm. They once dispatched a group of powerful cultivators, but they eventually all failed and no one made it back alive. Most importantly, the giant mosquito beasts were impossible to domesticate. No matter what method was tried, it never succeeded. After a long time, everyone knew about this characteristic of the mosquito beasts. However, that person in white had just made the impossible possible. The surroundings were completely silent as they all pondered. Not long after, several rays of light arrived. The people they were waiting for had arrived. This video will end here.